Welcome to episode 14 of English 101 with your host, Preston. This podcast is all about exploring different ways of writing and how our literacy shape meaning making in the world we live in. Today, we're going to be talking about podcasting and how this medium is in many ways another way to write. Howdy, everyone. I hope you are all doing well. I am going to start this episode with a question you may already be thinking, and one that I personally believe is important to ask. Why are we making a podcast in a writing class?
I got a bad feeling about this.
All right, hear me out. I would argue that anytime we communicate, whether that be through a video, a paper for school, a speech, an event poster, we are organizing information to make meaning and to create it accessible to whoever we are communicating to. We are considering the genre we are creating in, thinking about how we can reach our audience, while also trying to reach whatever goal it is that we have. Often, this is intuitive. When we're posting an Instagram picture, we may not really be thinking too much about what we are trying to accomplish. But by intentionally thinking about how we're communicating, we can make better decisions about how to reach our audience. The reason a podcast is valuable for us in English 101 is because we can look at how the writing and communication skills we already have transfer over into working in another genre that you probably haven't worked in before. As I've become literate in podcasting, I've come to this realization that many of the writing skills I've picked up over the years, such as providing the listener context in the intro, organizing my information in different sections of my podcast, and asking questions that help inspire show don't tell moments in the podcast with whoever I'm interviewing actually helps create a better podcast. So as we move forward with this lesson, we're going to look more specifically into what skills may transfer into this assignment.
To infinity and beyond!
I've jumped a bit ahead of myself. What is a podcast? I like to think of a podcast as any type of audio story that is digitally recorded. A quick history lesson. In the late 90s, at the advent of the internet, a fellow known as Ira Glass
Quiz question.
started a show called This American Life. You may have heard it before. And he started pioneering this new medium. He used a lot of the traditions and skills of radio journalism, and he evolved it into the new technologies available to create some really dynamic storytelling. And then the iPod came around. I guess that was maybe 2002, maybe a little bit before. I was 16.
Wow, you're old, dude.
And that was a new means of communicating, where a person did not have to be sitting at their radio at the time of the show. Instead, they could just download the episode and listen to it at their own leisure. It's kind of like what's happening right now with you, right? I pre-recorded this podcast on my computer, and now you're listening to it whenever you have the time to do so. And that's my 30 seconds of podcast history. Thank you for listening. I do appreciate it. One thing to keep in mind, podcasting isn't necessarily a genre. It's more of a medium where we use audio to tell a story in the age of the cell phone. The reason it's not really a genre is because there's so many genres that exist within this medium, And there's a good chance that, at least if you listen to podcasts, that you listen to one genre or several different genres. Some of the most popular ones are the interview, horror, comedy, news, the list goes on and on. All of the genres have different skills which are used, and many of these skills in different genres often overlap, such as how a host talks, excited, casual, clear, and also the music and sound effects being used underneath people talking. Taking it even further, learning podcasting skills can change the way you think, not only about writing, but also any communication skill you have in general. I use a lot of the skills I've picked up in podcasting in the videos I make for y'all. So let's talk about your assignment. You are going to be making a 5 to 8 minute long podcast where you interview someone in your life, either about a specific literacy narrative they have or a story that is meaningful to them. We are going to be using a specific genre of podcasting, what I'm going to call narrative-driven interview. What this means is you're going to be asking your interviewee specific thought-out questions to get them to tell their story. But other than the intro, you're largely going to be cutting out your voice so that your interviewee's story becomes front and central. As you may have noticed in a podcast you listened to on Monday, the O Rose episode, that same thing is done. Her voice is up front and central. You do not hear my interview questions. So you're going to be doing something very similar. The way that you're a writer in your podcast is you're taking part in shaping how the interviewee tells their story, in carefully crafting questions that inspire specific answers, and also making editing decisions. You're in some ways actually collaborating in their story. For more specifics on this assignment, please refer to the assignment sheet in today's activities. And I'm just going to say it, I am super stoked on this assignment. It's going to be a great opportunity for you to create a unique story about someone meaningful in your life. And I've found that the stories always turn out awesome. So looking forward to hearing what you come up with.
I'll be back.